Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. It's team news time. We're looking ahead to Gameweek 16. This is the final game week before the World Cup. So it's that time to take a 1 week punt or two and find out which of our troops are fit and ready to go and which may start. As usual, I'm joined by team news guru, team news chief.
There'll be some sort of roundup. Yeah. I'm ready to go off. Heard from everyone but Arteta today. He was due at 3:30, so we might get some info from him.
Just want to point out, for some reason, it went a bit blank in my ear there. So I hopefully people in the live chat heard. I don't know what that was. Oh, the stream froze. Just said the stream froze there.
Brilliant. Good start.
Briefly. So I was asking you how you are.
Yes, I'm all right.
You're all right.
Yeah, I'm all right in a nutshell.
Well, we will see if you're all right. Those three magic words. We will see. Okay.
We'll see after the press conference today. If I'm all right.
So before we get to that, we're all back now. Everyone in the live chat is saying we're back. Frank, Hanzo, Abdullah, Joshua, Andy, many more. Thanks so much there. Thanks for telling us that we are back. We froze temporarily. Not sure what that was. Some gremlins in the works there. Thanks so much for joining us. We will have a crack on. Just before we come on,
Froze there, Joe. This is going well.
You still there again? Yeah. Just before we look at the team news, we'll understand now during the World Cup we've got the Sky game as well. We're doing a lot of stuff for at Fantasy Football Scout, which is a great for me. Because I play the Sky game, but I haven't got my head around it yet. So, what's it all about then?
Oh, I thought you were covering this. Yes, How professional. Yeah, well, it's as far as I can tell, it's the same Sky game as you get domestically in the Premier League, just with the World Cup players. So I think it's the same scoring system, I believe, with the bonus for tiers like tackles and shots on target and things like that. And I have written the rules and how to play. Let me just quickly bring that up. It's already launched. It launched, I think, earlier this week. I think. Hold on a second here. There we go. It's going well, isn't it? Cracking start. So they're giving away a £10,000 first prize.
Okay, good.
It's very nice.
Free to play as well.
It is free to play as usual. Yeah, Sky's free to play. I know some games aren't, but second place nets £1,000 and third is £500. So decent little Christmas bonus there if you come out on top. If you're new to Sky, which some people will be, I know myself and you especially, Joe, have played it before. I think it's the same again. So we'll pick 11 players, Great. No bench, £100 million budget, same formations that you can usually choose from. And then you've got 7, that's kind of like game weeks. They're called match rounds or game rounds, which correspond to first group stage game, second group stage game, and so on, right way through the final. You are allowed 3 transfers per game round. So this is per game week in FPL terms, and they can be made, if you play Sky already, you'll know this, after each calendar day or at the start. So you can make them in between calendar days, but part of the same match round. So, for example, if one of your players plays in the Sunday game between Qatar and Ecuador, you can then transfer them out, get someone playing on the Monday.
Yep. Okay.
You aren't able to roll the transfers, unlike in FPL, and I believe in the FIFA World Cup game, possibly. And there is a overhaul chip, which is the equivalent of a wild card. Yes. That is after, basically, it allows you to renew your squad before the knockout round starts. So I think that's after match day 3 starts, finishes, and then before round of 16.
Okay, well, I will wait till the Game Week 16 in the domestic leagues out of the way, and I'm going to have to tuck in and refresh myself for that. But thanks for that update there. Let's crack on. First game is Manchester City again. So we're looking forward to that team news at 1:45. I'm going to go for a dog walk. I've had enough of it. So I'm going to rely on you.
I do wonder if we've just left all our teams the past 2 weeks, how much better we'd be doing. I'm sure I would be up on my points.
Okay. So Man City against Brentford. What is the latest from Pep?
Yeah, well, guess what? He hasn't been any help whatsoever. He was asked if Haaland was ready to start on Saturday, because he has been back in the matchday squad. We do know that he is fit to some extent. He was on the bench in game week 15, and he was on the bench again, unused, in the Carabao Cup game against Chelsea. So Guardiola was asked if he was ready to start, and he said, "We'll see. We'll see. We have training this afternoon," and then he threw in another "we'll see," just for measure. And then was asked if he's any better. He said a little bit. So absolutely no use whatsoever.
Okay. So I mean, I've got eyes. I saw him on the pitch coming on as a substitute last week. I saw him almost score. I then saw him take a penalty and score that.
Yeah.
So I basically saw a guy in 20 minutes almost get a brace, but actually still get a return. So he seemed fine to me. So what's going on there?
Yeah, well, he's obviously going to get minutes, isn't he, of some variety. Probably managed. So even if he starts, which is what probably our instinct is, then he might not see out the game. I do know that Norway's got 2 international friendlies coming up. So I wonder if Pep's going to try and maintain that he's still not fully fit before.
Who are Norway playing?
I have no idea.
Bermuda, Guernsey. I mean,
and Italy. Besides not involved in the
a bit bigger than Guernsey.
All the minnow teams not involved in the World Cup. I don't know who they're playing, to be honest. But yeah, we're not as we suspected it's going to be no use from Pep this afternoon. As you said there, though, again, it's the early kickoff tomorrow, 12:30. There may be team leaks from what is it called? Team News and Ticks and Leaks, whatever his name is.
Team News and Ticks, which I think is just nervous ticks, is what we're
but we know the perils of waiting for Team News from the last 2 weeks' experience. That even if you get information, you might not be able to do anything with it. And the site's crashed in the last 2 weeks, so just be wary that even if you do get information on Saturday morning, you may be snookered.
Just early in the week, there were some comments from Pep about the potential of a team that's hard to break down, like Brentford.
Yes.
And that he's not averse to playing Haaland and Alvarez together.
Yeah.
Do you think that's likely for this one?
It's possible because Brentford will go to 5 at the back. Mm-hmm. They do that in the big games. They play 4-3-3 against the also-rans, and then they pack the defence against the big 6. And we saw it, I think, was it against FC Copenhagen? We saw the two of them play together from the start. Alvarez just come into this off the back of 5 successive starts, and he's just played 90 minutes. And I think there's 60 hours separating that Chelsea game or 63 hours separating that Chelsea game and Brentford. So I would think it'll be one or the other, but Pep was basically responding to a question about whether Alvarez, what happens when Haaland's fit and does he just drop straight back out again? He was just insisting that there was the possibility for them to play together. I don't think he was necessarily saying that it is.
Yeah, we have to remember these questioners aren't primarily FPL players.
Yeah, and Pep doesn't bring this stuff up voluntarily. He didn't just say out of the blue, this is what could happen. He was responding to a question about Alvarez and what happens when Haaland's fit. So,
there's a few Foden owners out there. Nothing there.
Nothing on Foden. No, nothing from today. There is an embargo section tonight, so there might be something coming out. But best bet again is early team news tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So could still be tired. Whatever that means. Okay, well, let's have a look at. I mean, there's nothing before we move on to Brentford. Nothing else with Man City.
Walker's still out. He's named in the England squad, but he's not going to feature here. Phillips is back. He came. He was involved in Wednesday, I believe, in the Carabao Cup, so he's now fit. Okay. Brentford, I'll segue straight onto them. Tony's back. He was banned in Gameweek 15, but he's free from suspension in midweek, and he played then. Janelt's past fit as well. Norgard came through unscathed. That was his first game, I think, in 2 months in midweek. Quite an influential midfielder for them. But they're still missing Hickey, Strakosha, Janssen and Baptiste until after the World Cup.
Okay, rightio. Well, let's move on to the team, the matchup that everyone's come here for. Bournemouth against Everton. So what's happening at Bournemouth then? Yeah. Any news? I understand they have actually got a player suspended for this one, though.
Yeah, Mepham. Yeah, he's banned for yellow card accumulation, so he's out. Other than that, it's the same as it were. Nothing fresh, and the injured players are still injured. So that's Neto, Kelly, and Brooks.
Okay, rightio. And Everton, there is some news there up front for Everton, I understand. Yeah,
Calvert-Lewin's out with not 1, not 2, but 3 injuries. Of varying severity. Yeah.
Just in case he was thinking of coming on.
Yeah. His body's telling him no. The least serious is the shoulder dislocation, which I think he played through last weekend. Hamstring injury will keep him out for 10 days, so that's enough to keep him out of this one. And then the more serious one is a knee problem, but Lampard's still expecting him back for game week 17. Apart from that, Onana and Idrissa Gueye are fit, but Godfrey and Townsend are still out.
Okay, let's move on. Across those Saturday matches, we got Liverpool against Southampton. So interest there as well. It's a great matchup for Liverpool. So what has Jurgen Klopp been saying ahead of this?
Yeah, pretty quiet really in terms of the headline news elsewhere. Milner's back. He served the concussion protocol, so he's newly available. Other than that, I think everyone else is still out who was out, and that's Jota, Diaz, Matip, Arthur and Keita. Now, 3 of them are running now. Matip's even back in training, but this was his first session today with the team. He only did 3/4 of it, so this game's obviously too soon. Keita's back running. Luis Diaz is back running as well. So by game week 17, these sort of players will be back in contention. Diaz is interesting, actually. He's 7.8 now. A nice little price for when he returns to contention after the World Cup.
Definitely. And Southampton, they've got Brighton Yeovil legend Nathan Jones at the helm there, which is great news for Brighton and Yeovil fans of past. What's he been saying? And is he in charge? Is he definitely in charge of this?
I believe so, yeah. Unlike any Wolves boss. So Nathan Jones did take the presser today. And team news, as it often is in a manager's first press conference, was completely non-existent. So there is an embargo section later on, which something may come out tonight. But in the broadcast section, I don't believe there was anything. Walker Peters is out, Livramento still out, and we're waiting on news on Juan Larios, the budget defender who came off last weekend.
Okay. Now next up, we've got Nottingham Forest against Crystal Palace. Bit of interest there, particularly a few Zaha owners out there. I guess the thing there is Zaha going to start up front because he's much better there than hogging the touchline. So that might depend on some other team news, I guess, there. So let's go for Palace first because they're probably a bit more of interest to fantasy managers. What's the latest there? Nathan Ferguson, you've got to mention as well.
He's not going to feature. He needs game time with the under 23s or 21s, whatever it is now. First, so him, Richards and MacArthur are still out. Alternate Edouard is the main name here, really, because he's some people's budget forward of choice, but as you said there, his availability partly dictates whether Zaha is going to play through the middle. So he's going to travel with Palace to Forest, but an assessment will take place once they're there. So still a doubt. Still 75% flagged, and they're going to make the latest of calls, I think, on him before they decide. But yeah, as you said there, Zaha played through the middle last week and got a double-digit haul when everyone sold him.
Yeah, he always looks better there. So we think, it's still jury's out, but you know, look, it's good. Feel happy if you own him and he's playing up front, basically. Nottingham Forest. What's Steve Cooper been saying?
Yeah, this was one of the 4 who was held yesterday. So Richards, Niakate, Toffolo, Bianconi, they're all on the injury list still. Mangala's banned. He got sent off midweek, so he's suspended for this one. And there's going to be late checks on Kouyaté and McKenna. They both had knocks, both part of the first team lined up last weekend. Missed out in midweek, but minor problems.
Okay. I suppose Neco Williams is going to be in a few teams and may be needed should there be any last-minute injuries. But once again, we just don't know. We don't know whether he's going to start or not.
Yeah, he was part of our team last weekend that played quite well against Brentford. However, the second string did even better against Spurs in midweek, and they had Aurier was playing at right back, and then you had was it Lodi on the left who scored an absolute cracker and played very well. He has been under fire, Lodi, for some time for his performances. So I don't know if one swallow makes a summer in that regard, but not what you want. A positional rival playing very well just before game week 16.
Okay, we're racing through these. Tottenham against Leeds. Now, this is of interest. If you want to, I think if you want to take a 1 week punt, perhaps one of their returning players could be quite good. So let's go here then. Tottenham against Leeds. Let's go for Tottenham first. What's the latest there?
Yeah, so the punts in question are probably Richarlison and Kulusevski especially. They are both available for selection. I mean, they played half an hour in midweek, I think. And Kulu was substitute off the bench last weekend, of course, and came on and assisted straight away. So Kulusevski is obviously the closest in terms of fitness. Richarlison possibly as well. Conte said today that they have a training session and he has one day to make the best decision about whether he's going to put them in the starting 11. He was hopeful about it in midweek when he was interviewed after the after the Forest game. Aside from that, Sessegnon's out, so that's good news if you're a Perisic owner. Sessegnon picked up a hamstring towards the end of the game and was clearly hobbling. They couldn't bring him off because he used all 5 subs. But he hasn't trained today and he's not available for tomorrow's game. So you would hope, as a Perisic owner, that frees up a starting 11 spot for Perisic. You're never completely sure with Conte because he's played.
What about those who got, say, Doherty?
Well,
could that mean that
we have seen Doherty play on the left before last season, I think. I would be amazed if that happens again. Right. Doherty's kind of slipped a little bit out of the contention again. I think quietly Emerson started to become nailed again not quite nailed, but on the left flank. But Doherty played in midweek. He started in the second string team against Forest. So, with given the turnaround, you would think he drops out for this one.
Yeah, he really put in a good show there too.
Emerson was completely rested on the bench, so the money would be on Emerson starting. Perisic, by the way, got taken off after an hour. So did Kane. So did or Skip as well. So you'd think Kane and Perisic, who were mentioned as being fatigued by Conte today. He said he did mention those 2 players, but he again added that he did bring them off after 59 minutes. With that in mind.
Okay, interesting. Richarlison and Kulusevski, though, they're definitely, I think, the headline news there. If they're starting either side of Harry Kane, that could be very good. It could be very good. So Leeds, yes. Patrick Bamford ruled out, I understand.
Yeah, mirroring Calvert-Lewin's fitness at the moment, the two of them. He's out. He's got, I think, a hip problem. He's not going to feature. Neither is Click, who's got a knock to the knee. Matt Harrison's questionable with a muscle issue. Marsh fairly confident of making a recovery, but he's still making a start, given his form. And I think that leaves Dallas, Forshaw, Gray, and we assume Sinistera as well still out. Sinistera was previously thought to be ruled out until after the World Cup, but didn't get an update from him today, I don't think. But we're not expecting him back based on Marsh's press conference.
Okay, we can move on then. West Ham against Leicester. James Maddison in the England squad, which is good news for him. But less good news for another England player at Leicester, I understand. Yeah,
James Justin, I'm assuming who you're talking about. He probably would have been maybe in contention given the problems at full back and wing back. Still a long shot for the England squad, but he's out now probably for the rest of the season. He ruptured his Achilles in that Wednesday or Tuesday game against Newport. So he's going to miss the majority of the season, potentially all of it. I think the recovery is 6 to 9 months. So bad news for him. Bertrand Pereira still out. No news on Soyuncu, who's got a hamstring problem. Evans is back, though. He came back against Newport. And as you said there, Maddison, you could either be buoyed by that or absolutely terrified to get an injury against West Ham. So could work both ways. Okay. As for West Ham, some actual news from Moyes. Write that down in the diary. He said that Cornet is definitely out and Palmieri is touch and go because he broke his nose. This is Emerson. Broke his nose in, what was it, Wednesday in that cup defeat at Blackburn.
Nasty.
So he's touch and go for this. And the standard knocks and niggles otherwise apply.
I know. I saw your tweet. I put it up on the screen here. David Moyes reported his usual knocks and niggles. There's a slightly passive-aggressive way that's written because that's what he always says.
That was Partridge. I've got nothing to do with Twitter anymore. That was
he was clearly had enough of David Moyes' vague knocks and niggles. It just looked a little bit like that. Newcastle against Chelsea. Now Chelsea, thankfully, took a manager who can't get many goals for Brighton off our hands and so we've replaced him with a more goal-alicious manager. Meanwhile, Chelsea can't score now. There we go. So Newcastle host Chelsea. High-flying Newcastle, low-flying Chelsea. What's the latest from Newcastle? Big news up front, I understand there.
Yeah, this illness is dragging on with Callum Wilson. He was a doubt last weekend, but then started. Took off at half-time because he wasn't too well. Missed out a midweek, and he's been training away from everyone this week. So I'm presuming that's just a precautionary measure not to get other people infected. But this is what Howe said. He's been training separately from the group this week. He's had an illness. He's been away from the group. He's been working well, but I need to make a decision on whether he's fit enough to play. So still that lingering doubt over his involvement. Another one to be called up for the World Cup by England. So yeah, and a slight nagging doubt over his involvement. I think he probably will be involved, but in what capacity? We saw last weekend they started with him and he just wasn't ready to last more than half a game. So I would not be shocked if he was maybe on the bench for this and would start or gets some kind of managed minutes if you do own him. But we'll try and keep our eyes peeled on the Newcastle training photos, if there is any from today, because sometimes there is.
Yeah, I know. I don't like that. I mean, I can't even recall if I've owned Callum Wilson this season. But yeah, I mean, if he's floored by a cold 2 weeks, then yeah.
Part of that trinity with Calvert-Lewin and Bamford, isn't he? Where they're just
Lord, yeah,
competing for most days off.
Indeed. Chelsea, loads of long-term absentees still there.
Yeah. Just go back to Newcastle, by the way. Julian's back from suspension.
Really?
Yeah, Fraser's it out with a calf problem. He wouldn't have played anyway. Okay. Dummett, Isak, Kraft and Richie are still out. So yes, Chelsea, long-term ones still out. So that's James, Chilwell, of course, who would have been in the England squad, both of them. Kante, Fofana and Kepa, all out. Jorginho's back in training. He's the only one who could return. In fact, he should return according to Potter today, providing there's no reaction. So nothing else to report. In terms of returnees, according to Potter.
So we're moving into Wolves against Arsenal. Now, I'm hoping you're going to do a Chris Kamara in the middle of this because Arsenal's press conference started at about 20 minutes ago. So whilst we've been recording. I mean, do you want me to read the Wolves one out while you sort of have a little scout around?
Be my guest, Joe. Absolutely,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll be a mini guru and read the Wolves team news. So Steve Davis, not the snooker player, the manager, has said that Johnny is a doubt for game week 16, but everyone else is okay. That's a hamstring issue with Johnny there. Nunez is fine and in the squad, just in case he's hovering around anyone's benches. And Diogo Costa, remember him, but he's at Wolves now, and he's serving the last game of his suspension. He's actually figuring quite high up in my goals imminent table, Diego Costa, which actually disturbed me, but it's good to see him there, and it's good to see him almost getting on the score sheet. So yeah, Neil, anything from the Arsenal camp?
I have news. Yes.
Oh, good.
There's no news.
Oh,
there's nothing new.
Oh,
so Arteta had. Yeah, he's told his press comments right now. There is no new injury concerns on according to Arteta. So I think I just leave Smith Rowe and Tomiyasu out.
Okay, rightio. Okay. Well, that was well worth the wait.
Yeah,
but that's great news for those who
want, isn't it?
Assets that there could have been a problem with. So that's all fine there. My team Brighton against Aston Villa. Now I don't have any I didn't see an Aston Villa tweet earlier, so we'll start with Brighton first, and then we'll move on to Villa. De Zerbi, what's he been saying ahead of this? Same.
Much like Arteta, nothing new. So the only player you've got out, I believe, is Jakob Moder, who's out long term, and everyone else is fine. Oh,
okay. And Aston Villa.
Yeah, no, I did see this. This was held last night by Emery, and it was released from embargo at 2:00. So it was the last thing I witnessed before I came on air, and nothing in terms of team news per se, in terms of injuries. We do think Coutinho and Carlos are the only ones out. He did mention about internationals, because I think Argentina were cheekily trying to prize Martinez away early before Aston Villa went to Brighton. Yeah. But Emery says that's probably not going to happen. They're keeping them there for this game. And then they'll be releasing them thereafter.
Okay, rightio. And the final one, Fulham against Manchester United. People don't like it when I talk about my team, but I will, because I've got Mitrovic. But that, so many people. Is Mitrovic going to play?
No, he's not. He's out. Initially, Silva was sketchy on the details. He said there was not much change from last weekend in terms of team news, which did imply that Mitrovic would miss out. And we'd seen reports from Serbia suggesting that as well. But then later in the press conference, and I think you'll hear more of this tonight in the embargo section, because I think it's leaked out, he has confirmed that Mitrovic won't play a part on Sunday against Man United. So he's now red flagged, I believe.
Okay.
So he's out. Also out are Cabano and Solomon, the long-term injuries. Reed and Tetty are suspended as well. So two fairly important names at the rear. Reed, of course, is the holding midfielder. They do get Deco Reed back from suspension. He'll come straight in for Tetty at right back, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are hit by injury and suspension for them going into that Man United game. And I have seen a few people thinking about punts on United assets this week, like some Martial and Rashford.
Yeah.
So could end on a high game week 16.
Okay, so yeah, Darlow's suspended though. That's going to be an issue.
Oh yeah.
For Manchester United. Ronaldo.
Yeah, I forgot we ended Man United. Yeah, Darlow's out. So is Varane, still injured, even though he's in the France squad. Doubts over Anthony, Ronaldo, and Sancho. Okay. Ronaldo was ill on Thursday, apparently. Missed out against Villa. I would not be surprised if he doesn't feature on Sunday, and then he's off to the World Cup. He will be assessed in training according to Ten Hag. Him and Anthony were name-checked as being players who would be assessed. No mention of Sancho, who I think has just been ill for a week or so, 10 days. But no mention from him, from Ten Hag in the presser that I heard.
Yeah.
So whether he's part of that group that's going to be assessed or whether he's still out, we're not too sure. But Martial did come back. He played started his first game for a while last night. I think he got about an hour. So Ten Hag said he's going to be, just run the rollover in case he's feeling any after effects from that, because he is injury prone, as we're aware.
Okay, we'll have a look at the sort of a roundup of what we've been talking about there. Sort of who's fit to play. There's not that many there of those that were down. Evans, Norgarden, and Jan out from Brentford and Leicester. The questionable list is quite lengthy. Wilson with his illness, Ronaldo with his illness, Johnny with his hamstring, Jorginho injured, not sure about whether he'll play. Richarlison fitness, Kulusevski fitness, Edouard fitness. That's important if you're a Zaha owner. You got Matip and the biggie Haaland, best till last there. I put fitness, but he looked pretty fit to me. I don't know what that is. I could just put, instead of that, I should just put Pep. As that major doubt, obviously Harrison and Palmieri, and then out you got a few notable names there. Sessegnon's been confirmed out, Mitrovic confirmed out, Justin confirmed out, Calvin Lewin out. So there's some of the big names there. Darlow obviously suspended along with Costa and Mepham and Mangala, if you own them. So yeah, it's an interesting end to this segment of the season. We'll be back again with team use in game week 17. In the meantime, we've got the World Cup, haven't we?
We have.
So you're going to be pretty busy.
Yes.
There's no break there. So what's happening at Fantasy Football Scout with the World Cup?
A lot, yeah. The next week will be very busy. And we are already underway with the team preview, so you might have seen a few of these pop up already. We've already written quite a lot of them, and they'll be really put out with increased frequency from Saturday, Sunday onwards. So we're previewing all 32 nations. We're hoping to get correspondence from all 32 teams as well. We've got most of them back already.
Wow.
Questions. So that's, people who actually know about Iran and Qatar, unlike myself. We'll have answers from all of those. We'll have predicted lineups as well, hopefully. But a team news of some capacity. I mean, it won't be like this. The thing is with the World Cup is that the group games are all, like days apart. So press conferences will be held long after deadlines. So we'll bring you what we know on the team news front. What else have we got up already? We've got the How to Play guides are already up there for the FIFA game, Fan Team and Sky. We'll have Fan Team and Sky coverage as well. The squad lists we're populating as they come in. We'll bring those up to date over the weekend as well, because they are being announced every day. England's was yesterday. We've got a brilliant ticker from FPL Reactions, who's part of the Scouts team now. The schedule's up there as well. We've got bookies odds already on the site as well for qualification, which is very important if you're playing Fan Team, because their wild card is in the quarterfinals. So you need to think ahead about who's going to play in the last 16. We're going to have World Cup data, I can reveal as well. I'm not sure if that's been disclosed anywhere now, but we're going to have Opta's World Cup data as well. So that not just for the tournament itself, but for the qualification rounds as well. So that's really hopefully we'll get that loaded in the coming hours and days, and you can see who the key chance creators were and shot takers were for the respective countries. But yeah, the tournament data itself will be populated, fingers crossed, tech-wise, straight after the full-time whistle in each group game. You'll find that in the members area. That's completely free if you're already a member.
Yep.
And we will be running a membership offer for those who don't have a subscription already. So a month-long thing. It will be a rolling one, so you do need to I'll just cancel that phone call there. That's probably
Arteta saying, I forgot.
There we go. Let's just cancel that.
This bit of important news.
My agent.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll have a subscription to run the length of the World Cup. So you'll get not just the World Cup data, but you also get access to all the other stuff in the members area. So articles, Premier League data, all that kind of stuff. And you can use that to your heart's content until your subscription runs out. If you cancel it, it'll roll on. If you don't, so just be aware of that. But I'm sure you won't want to cancel once you've got your teeth into the members area.
Okay, well, we'll get all this out of the way. We'll get our nervous anxiety attacks at 10:45 tomorrow for the Manchester City team links, which may or may not arise. And then we'll be. I'm sure we'll all be fully into World Cup mode, and then back to it. Game week 17, which is Boxing Day, I believe. So
it is.
Neale, thanks so much for joining me. Thanks everyone who's joined us in the live chat. It's been a pleasure here to speak to you and to deliver that vital team news. Good luck with your decisions, and see you soon.
Toodaloo.